Welcome, everybody, to Traction Thursday. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Eric Schaeffer and Dr. Apala Lahiri, and they're going to talk about the dark arts of persuasion. So let's give them a welcome.
Okay. So those of you who've seen us before know that we do user experience engineering, which is to say we try to make stuff user-friendly. We try to make stuff that's easy for people to use. And you might think that's kind of easy, but let me show you something. Ken, can I borrow you for 1 second?
Yes.
You can just take this microphone. And what I'm going to do, don't do anything yet. We have a new product called a jacket, but I don't know how to use it. But that's okay because I have instructions. Now, you wrote these instructions several months ago before jacket release, so you can't see me. So I'd like you to just turn around in your chair and tell me how to put on the jacket.
All right. Well, there are these two long things sticking out from the center body of the jacket. And so get those aligned and put the jacket.
No hints.
Put the jacket, open it up, and then put it behind you with the two long things sticking out. Then insert your arm into the left one, left tube. Insert your arm into the right tube.
Oh, tube.
Tube. And pull the jacket around to your front.
Both tubes, right? Here we go. Okay.
And
Okay,
then,
thank you.
And then zip it up.
Okay, you can turn around now. It's actually very difficult. And most people have trouble doing it. Now, you could have done it by simplifying the task, like the way we teach kids to put on their jacket. Right? Or you could have used a metaphor. Metaphor would be, why don't you put on the jacket the same way you put on your shirt this morning? Right, so there's a whole thing about getting people to be able to do something. All right, let's try something else. That wasn't the right thing. There we go. Everybody, stand up. Very good. All right, turn to the person next to you and shake their hand. Okay, and now do this. Okay, applaud. You can sit down. Why did you do that? Okay. When we go in, we see most people will stand up, shake hands, even the goofy paws, applauding. Why did you do it? You could do it, right? The instruction was clear. So the can-do part is done. But why did you do it?
It was a request by the instructor.
By an authority figure. I am Dr. Eric Schaeffer. I have a gray beard. Right? I dress in all black. I'm scary. So we tend to respond to authority figures. Anything else?
Peer pressure.
Yes, other people were doing it.
I saw them.
So once you saw other people doing it, you thought, that's the right thing to do.
Right.
Okay, so my world became divided into getting people to be able to do things and then getting people to want to do things. So can they do it? Will they do it? And then customer attention. Will they still do it? So you can remember can do, will do, still do. And if you're trying to get customers to be able to do it, that's what we want to pay attention to. So can do, yeah, I can do that, but what am I going to do? Yeah. Right. So that will do is really important. And this, when did that actually start? It was like 12, 15 years ago, right?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. Yeah. So we started to say usability is no longer enough. This is usable, but that's persuasive. And so the term you're going to hear used is persuasion engineering. Okay? This is AAA, right? The Automobile Club of America. And they came to us and they said, you know, our website isn't working that well. And they had a problem that everybody thinks of AAA as insurance, right? For if you break down. But we have so many other things nobody knows about. That's a problem. So we did a bunch of work, including this, which is kind of interesting. So we rewrote the front page, and before it was like basic membership provides basic coverage from roadside assistance to triptychs and tour, plus membership, expand on basic with more. Okay? The facts were there. This design, broken down, AA will repair dead battery, AA will jump your flat tire, out of fuel, locked out. We're appealing to fear. Fear, food, sex, and survival of progeny are the core human drivers. And when we looked at that and we ran eye track on it, what we found is the original one people didn't really look at very much, but they read the new one. So that approach, the fear approach, worked, and we saw from memory people knew there were two things. They read the original site, they picked up one more after HFI's redesigned, 6 more things provided by AAA. So we quadrupled actually the number of things they learned on the site. And interestingly, we doubled the number of visitors per day, and then, so the calculation is that they made about $214,000. That's worth $214,000 in 30 days. So the recovery cost for the project was $250,000. So this stuff is worth doing. Okay, do people have a little piece of paper, anything, or a cell phone? You can put it on your cell phone. We're going to try an experiment. I love experiments. Okay, we're going to take the room and divide it in half. Ken, you're on this side, that side. Jeffrey, you're on that side. Greg, okay, so side 1, side 2. So what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to figure out the maximum amount you would pay to have a 1.2 pound chocolate fake champagne bottle with a customized label delivered in the US. So how much would you pay? Don't write anything down yet. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have half of you close your eyes and then write down a number. And then decide, write down yes or no, whether you would pay that much for the bottle. And then write down the maximum you would pay. Got it? Okay, so this side, close your eyes, left side here, close your eyes. This side, okay. Gregory, open your eyes, thank you. Write down this number. Okay, write that down. Then write down yes or no, would you pay that much for getting the chocolate customized and delivered? And then write down the maximum amount you would pay. Okay, open your eyes, and this side, close your eyes. All right, ready? Now, write down the number. Okay. Then write down yes or no, would you pay that much? And then write down the maximum amount you would pay. Okay. That was fun. Everyone open your eyes. All right, let's see the maximum amounts. Maximum amount, how much?
$69.99.
How much?
$79.99.
How much?
$80.
How much? Not paying attention. How much?
30.
Okay, how much? How much?
50.
How much? Okay. How much?
39.
How much?
10 to 15.
How much?
35.
How much?
$30.
How much?
12.
How much?
0.
Cheap bastards. What did I do? What I did was before I had you do that, I showed you a number that was either very small or very large. And it's called anchoring. It's a method that you can use to influence how people decide what something should be. Scary. All right, here's another question. You're going to put an item on eBay. You might do this, right? And people are going to bid on it. Do you start high or low to get the biggest ending price? High. Everyone agrees high? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Wow, you're all wrong.
Huh.
You might not get a bid.
If you, this research shows starting low will give you the highest price in an auction.
Engage. Get more excitement, more people engaged.
So what happens is more people bid, that's social proof, so people decide, yeah, this is really worthwhile. This has got to be a good deal because other people are doing it, so I can stand up because of that, I can make a funny face, and I'll bid more. I told you these are evil. You know, it's funny, I feel bad about the field because people that do this work, we're the ones destroying the world. Because since about 1920, when Dr. John Watson got kicked out of Johns Hopkins for messing around with his lab assistant and getting caught, and he started selling cold cream and started using psychological methods to make you feel that cold cream would make you lovable. And so what we've done is we've influenced people to feel like they need more things.
I read somewhere that Freud's nephew came to the United States and started doing the same thing? That he was one of the first public relations companies?
Probably. PR is a little out of my space. But John Watson was working for, what was, what?
That big advertising.
Advertising.
agency. I forget. Sorry? No. I don't think.
It was,
Watson, was it? I forget now. Yeah.
okay. Anyway, so
It's still around.
yeah.
It's still big.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And so what we've done is,
P.W. Thompson.
P.W. I knew it was P. Yep, P.W. Thompson. So we have convinced people using these methods that they need more and more and more stuff, and that it will make them lovable to have a Tesla. What is that thing? Anyway, you need 3 cars and you need 4 houses, and the houses should be real. Sorry, destroying the world. All right, how do we get somebody to want to decide to do something? As an entrepreneur, this is kind of key. No matter what you're doing, you're trying to influence a decision. I want you to buy this thing. So the best model for that we have is the Columbia obstruction device, done by Columbia University about 150 years ago. And what they did was they had a single alley maze, and at one end they had a hungry rat, and at the other end they had piece of cheese. And in the middle, they had an electric grid. So you can see where this is going. So they found you could decrease the amount of shock, increase the size of the cheese, and at some point the rat would go. You can think of your customers like this. Columbia obstruction device, right? So if you're hard to do business with, if I have to call somebody and set up something and make a bunch, that makes it difficult. If it's a big piece of cheese, that makes it better. But from the persuasion engineering point of view, we can make the cheese bigger without making it bigger. We can fake you out. And we can do it a lot of different ways. We can convince you. So I have the same piece of cheese. I can give you money to go there and take the cheese. I can give you a discount. I can pay you to do it. And we think about that all the time. And when I see somebody going, I'm going to sell this by making it cheaper, or particularly by giving somebody a gift for doing it, or paying them for doing it, it makes me very scared. It feels like they haven't done their work. And there's an interesting problem of the unanticipated costs of those kind of rewards. I got to tell you a story. There was an old man, and he was living in a neighborhood, and that neighborhood had gone downhill. And there were kids making noise, thank you, all around his house, and he hated it. So one day, he went down and he said, kids, come here. I want you to stand here outside the house, and I want you to make noise. And he gave them pots and pans and spoons. I want you to make noise, and if you do that, I will pay you 25 cents each. And they made noise. Came down after a little bit and said, thank you. He gave them each 25 cents. Come back tomorrow. Tomorrow they came back, and they made noise, and he gave them 25 cents. But then he said, I'm sorry. I'm a poor man. From now on, I can only pay you 5 cents to make noise near my house. And the kids said, we're never making noise anywhere near your house ever again. So if we have something that people like to do, for example, go to the Dome, and we pay them to do it, then they will stop going because they want to do it. They'll start going because they're getting paid, and you stop paying them and they stop going. That applies to all sorts of businesses. Okay. So there are a bunch of things we can do that make people, even with the same size cheese, want to go. And a lot of it has to do with the lives we lead. So if you think about your life, you're constantly beset by decisions you have to make. You have to make hundreds of decisions every day, right? You're buying soap, you're buying toothpaste, you're deciding which direction to go and where to go for lunch and what to get for lunch. So what we do in order to survive is we cheat. We use rules of thumb that tell us something is good and I should do that thing. We don't really make decisions based on full knowledge because we couldn't survive. So there are lots and lots of things we could do that take advantage of that. So one thing that I particularly like using, and there are many of these, many hundreds of these, is scarcity. We evolved in an environment of scarcity, right? We were, there was never enough food. This is the first couple of generations where there's plenty of food. And so scarcity rings something for us. It gets our attention. It stimulates our emotions. And it can mean different things. So if you say, hey, this is the last piece of cheese, that means other people are getting it because you're almost out of cheese. And so that's a cue that would lead me to jump and get the cheese. And that scarcity thing, it's going, okay? And so when I see something like, oh, this is sold out, it must be good. Lots of people are doing it. And it rings that scarcity bell, right? Only 6 left in stock. You see that all over because it works, because it gets people to act, because we're sensitive to scarcity. It's funny, sometimes the usability engineer in me and the persuasion engineer fight. So this is a design which, from a usability point of view, is not bad. This one, from a usability point of view, sucks because I'm only showing you 4 choices on this whole list. Everything else is irrelevant to you. And so the usability guy goes, I don't want that. But from a persuasion point of view, this might sell more. And here's one where, like, okay, we're really too many sold out, so stop it. Okay. Another thing that's interesting is that we value things that are rare. So when I'm trying to decide which cheese to buy at the store, and you might go to the place in Hy-Vee where they have a special rack for rare cheese, right? They have the common cheese and the... Is it necessarily better? I don't know, but it is rare cheese. And so I'm likely to go and buy that. And by the way, I'm particularly likely to go and buy that if other people like me are buying that cheese. So if I see somebody and, you know, they're a 15-year-old, you know, cool dude walks in, he's buying cheese, I'm like, But if he's 70 with gray hair, from the East Coast preferably, or West, but right? Then I'm going to do whatever that is, right? That's going to make sense. So here are 2 diamond rings that are for sale. Can you tell which one is more expensive? Which one is better?
Tell which one has a better photograph.
Yeah. What if I told you that this one is available in bulk, and it's $6,000, and this one is only available from Sotheby's, the famous, right, auction house. All of a sudden, this one's like, oh, that's got to be really, right? Because it's rare, it's prestigious. They look about the same, they work the same, but I'm influenced. And it's crazy. I mean, this is a Magic the Gathering card. It's a little piece of cardboard, and they're bidding $4,000 for it. What the heck? But it's rare. It's a very rare card. Another thing about scarcity that's super powerful, remember you can use all these things. Okay. If I go to commodities traders and I tell them, looks like the weather's going to be bad, then they'll double their investment. But if I say, the weather's going to be bad, this is very scarce information. It's from a secret source.
Called outsider trading.
Yeah. But the fact that it's coming from an exclusive source, they 6 times the investment. So scarcity works, and if I have scarce information telling me about scarcity, I'm rocking and rolling. Okay? The other thing that's useful in scarcity is a limited time offer. It's going away. Move now. And so we can use that. This is one I put in to make my trip myself. Hurry, a few seats are left. It works. Okay, so just talking about scarcity, if you want people to act, one of the many tools you can use is scarcity. And if you can say this thing is scarce, this thing is endangered, this thing is hard to get, and there's secret information, right? Then that'll tend to get people acting, and they'll see it as more valuable. Now, what if we had a product like a bed like this? How could we use scarcity to, yeah?
Actually, I just sent John a text about this, but one thought is that the bed is so high quality that we can only produce so many. So maybe you should make a reservation.
Ah, okay. So this is a brilliant idea, right? So if I go, please call us. Okay, but you can make a reservation to talk to us and reserve your place in the waiting line for the bed.
Make a deposit.
Well, you would think from a usability point of view that makes it more of a pain in the ass.
Some people like a pain in the ass. There's something like
It's what it is it gives me a cue other people are doing it. I need to move quickly.
and it's so high quality that we can only do so many. You know, it's true, of course, right now. How many can you do in a month, John?
Well, right now,
Right now is what I want to know.
yeah, 4 to 6.
That's not a lot.
No,
But if you do buy 4 to 6, he'll gear up. That's another story.
yeah, easily.
4 to 6 is good.
Yeah, good idea. Other things we could do? Okay, we could have reservations to get one.
Only available to Norwegians. Or if you know one. Scandal, huh?
Yeah.
That was for you, Jeffrey. That whole joke.
Other things we could do? Any way you could have scarce information that tells me about this?
Every product has a story. This one has a unique story, obviously, which John has probably taken advantage of. So if you tell that story, suddenly it's no longer just a product, but it is an object that has a story embedded in it.
So I'll talk about that in a minute, because that's a good thing that there's a story around it. But when I offer it, how can I offer it in a framework where it's scarce?
An endorsement, maybe?
So an endorsement, there's a whole thing about endorsements, and that can work. But maybe if I, for example, had an endorsement where it was a secret piece of information that only the fan club of Taylor Swift knows, that Taylor Swift has ordered one of these beds. And so that's an example where it's something that, do you know about, did you hear about that? Right? And that's motivating. Okay, so we can see lots of ways we can use just even this one of many things. Or
You have a discount for trying it out. If you travel to Fairfield, Iowa, we'll give you, we'll reimburse your travel or something, or we'll take your, we'll pay for your travel if you buy the bed for trying it out.
what did I say about paying?
Can't remember, go ahead. Remember.
So paying, giving a discount is the opposite of what we probably want to do. Because if I'm paying you for, I'll pay you to come and look at it. I'm so desperate, I can't get anybody interested. Nobody else is doing this. I'm going to pay you to come and look at it.
I hear you.
I would be better off saying, the only way you can try this is come to our special showroom in Fairfield, Iowa. And you have to come all the way here. But that's a different approach. So is this something which is special, or am I desperate to sell it? Is it something scarce?
VIP invite, an exclusive VIP invite to a special experience of trying out the beds. Is that kind of what you're saying? It's scarce because it's only being offered to a certain caliber of client or special group or?
So VIP is another kind of place, right? So when
It's a culture, the culture of the country also. So that really works in Asia. VIP, I have this status. I will immediately, my brain is like, oh, I want this, because they've said I'm a VIP.
Mm-hmm.
But in many cultures, it doesn't work. So that's the other layer on this, the pet stuff.
One thought was to sell to designers, you know, through designers. So you must, here's the designers who can handle our product. You know, and
only these very few, we only have 4 designers
right.
who handle this. And you know, they don't have a lot of time, but we can get you on a list to talk to them. Yeah.
I don't know if this applies or not, so, but I did see, you know, a special thing on Facebook that said dream giveaway, where you get a lot of people to give like $5 tickets for the Tesla Performance special model, and they're giving that away, but it generates a lot of traffic.
Yeah, so that's a lottery. And Elon seems to like those to influence people. Get a Tesla, get $1 million. And that is because people will tend to overestimate the likelihood of very big things happening, either that are very good or very bad. So people buy terrorism insurance, even though it's almost no chance it's going to happen, because it's big and scary. And so they overestimate how big that is, and that people buy lottery tickets because they overestimate the likelihood that they'll win. And they're fun. It's like buying a ticket to a roller coaster. So, yeah. So if we give people rewards like being a VIP, there is that thing of being a VIP is actually the best reward to give. So for people who bought then I might go, oh, well, you're in this category, And people think that the best thing you can do is give them some pillow or some gift or something, and that's wrong. In order of what works: status, access, power, and stuff. Stuff is last. So VIP status is number one. Access to a special thing is number two. Power, meaning that like you call up and I'm like, yes, sir, what can I do for you? And stuff, I give you the pillow. Stuff is the worst. All right. Let's go on and talk about framing a bit, because this one is kind of the ultimate evil thing, so I want to make sure we cover it. Framing is when I talk about something, I can guide you in terms of what matters about it and what doesn't. And when I have the power to do that, I can change how you perceive it. So the original study looked like this. There are two different medical treatments. And one treatment is probabilistic, and there's a 1/3 probability 600 people will be saved. There's a 2/3 probability no people will be saved. The other one, for sure, 200 people will be saved. You can say the same thing the opposite way, making this first statement, this is saved. I can say 400 people will die. Or I can have the probabilistic thing. That shouldn't change anything. The math is the same, right? Okay? When I say it like this, 72% take this choice. 200 people will be saved. I want that. When I say 400 people of the 600 will die, 22% take it. What the heck? Right? This is very dangerous stuff and is used all the time now. And so being aware of it may help slightly. Okay? So what we're doing, have you ever seen like the Consumer Reports and they go, this thing, does it have this, does it have this, yes, yes, no, no, like that, right? Okay, cool. If I can control this list of what does it have, I win. If I can control the basis of the evaluation, I win. So if we say ground beef, if we label 75% lean rather than 25% fat, people will buy it more. And in advertising, in politics, it's gone beyond the beyond now. So you'll see all this battle of what do we talk about? We don't, and this is right wing. Don't say an inheritance tax or an estate tax. Say a death tax. So if I can make you say it's a death tax, then I've influenced your decision, right? Tort reform. No, say lawsuit abuse reform. Right, I win. So you can guide what people are interested in. So these are sites on OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and they all use a different frame. Frame is setting the definition of good. Okay? So what's good about this treatment program? It's about health in your family. So OCD, what you have to be concerned about is your health and your family. While this one is that you should have options. It's not about health and family. It gives you lots of options. So I feel power and control. This one, it's natural. whatever I want you to pick if I can control what we're talking about. This one, it's like OCD is about God and your faith. They're all about OCD, but they're all using different frames to influence what you'll decide. This is a bank. So the frame is, this is a bank about saving money. This is a bank about status. This is a bank that's good because it's international, and this is a bank, it's good because it's for rednecks with a sense of humor. So we have to pick a frame that's right for your audience. And so what we're going to do is, I think we could break into 4 groups. We have just till the 10 more minutes. Is that enough time? Very little time. Okay, let's do it as a group then. Can I get that big whiteboard? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to develop a website, an ad, doesn't matter, for this high-quality leather handbag. Okay, it's well made. But we're going to have 2 different user populations that are different only based on the country they're in. So these are, Apala, help me. These are trendsetters. Can you talk a little bit about each of them?
Yeah, and this is again the 2 personas, as we call them, representation of actual people. One is American, young single American. The other one we'll show you is Japanese. So if you're going to frame how and why these 2 kinds of people will buy that bag, you've got to keep in mind what is the cultural context. And based on that, you will use the persuasion technique. So if you're looking at the young single American culture, and of course, thank you, based on all the anthropological data, Hofstede's data about cultural dimensions, America tends to be very individualistic. So Americans tend to decide stuff on their own. It's not about what the group is telling them or influencing them. They decide ultimately based on what an individual wants. Japan used to be very collective, which is the opposite on this dimension, meaning it was all decided by group. It's what the group is doing. That's what each individual decides. You don't want to stand out. But now, with the generations, right now in Japan, it's changed a bit. They're more individualistic. The measurement that we use for this, it's now almost the same as America. So they've shifted from being more collectivist to being a little more individualistic. Now, you have to think how for collective, if it was a collectivist culture, what influences them to buy something? Versus if they're more individualistic, like both of them are, Japan is still a little bit more influenced by the group. The American one, no influence of any group. So,
and the American one, trendsetters are 24 years old.
Yeah, much younger than the Japanese persona.
Trendsetters.
Yeah, and they're both trendsetters. But you see, the trendsetter in Japan is of a different age group, is a more established, has more money, etc. But the trendsetter in America is somebody who's experimenting, may not have a lot of money, but that's the trendsetter. So it's very different in both cultures, the life stage at which you're considered a trendsetter. Also, the other things that would matter in how you frame for this particular bag, for the American trendsetter, it's very important for this trendsetter to understand if this bag is of value to me today, or am I going to buy this because it's going to last me for 15 years because it's so well made. The American culture on the Hofstede measurements of long-term orientation, where I do things because I'm thinking of the future versus I'm doing it because of today. Americans are one of the highest on short-term orientation. You tend to do things because of today. Today, I want gratification. Today is when it matters. Whereas Japan is the extreme. On a scale of 0 to 100, Japan is 100 on long-term orientation. Everything is about the future. You do things because you're buying things or engaging in something or building a house, whatever it is you're thinking, how will this still be there 20, 30 years from now? It's not just about today. So it makes it very different how you frame a product or service for a Japanese trendsetter versus an American trendsetter. The other one, there are many dimensions, but I'll just do one more because otherwise we'll run out of time, is masculinity versus femininity. Now, American culture tends to be higher on the masculinity scale. What that really means is in a masculine culture, there is a lot of expectation of differences in what roles you play depending on gender. So I will buy a product if it means that in a masculine culture, it depends. If I'm a woman, I want to buy something that makes me look and feel like a woman because it's a culture that expects the differentiation. Cultures which are feminine, the Scandinavian cultures are higher on the femininity scale where roles are not based so much on gender. So a man can do stuff in a masculine culture. This man is not supposed to do all that. India is very masculine. It's one of the highest. And so men are expected to wear certain things, not wear certain things, behave in a certain way. Women have to behave in a different way, wear certain things, not allowed to wear. I mean, all that is changing, of course. But Japan is much more masculine than America. America is masculine, but lower than Japan. Japan is very separated by gender expectations. So if you're selling this bag in America, the gender part matters, but not as much as here. So how will you then frame it based on these kinds of cultural differences? There are many more, but let's...
So keep the mic. Don't put it down.
Oops.
Keep it there. Because we're going to have the US side and the Japan side, and we're going to have this high-quality bag. It's the same bag. But for the US, how do we frame it? What's good about the bag? Why should I buy the bag? For the US trendsetter.
It's one thing is you stand out as an individual. That's very important in an individualist culture. Oh, sorry. Very important in an individualist culture. So in Japan, it's a little bit more collective, bit more.
So USA, we would say something like makes you stand out. Yeah? Japan?
Japan, you stand out as a group.
Okay.
So I'm part of a group that's we are trendsetters. So I don't particularly want to say I am a trendsetter, but I want to say I'm part of a group.
Join the trend.
Yes. So,
Okay. Let's take time. One more thing about the frame that would be different.
do the short term and long term. So this, for Japan, this is going to last. You can give it to your children, grandchildren, that works really well.
USA?
This one is today. Once if you don't get it today, this trend may change and you've lost it. You've lost that opportunity.
So don't miss out.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. It's interesting how in the persuasions that we find a new tool and we use it for a few years and then people, it becomes part of the vernacular. Like framing you've probably heard and FOMO you've heard and all that. The interesting thing though, one of the masters in the field, Cialdini, right, Dr. Cialdini, he wrote an amazing book, The Psychology of Influence. Highly recommend it. It's old now, but. And he wrote it to expose the way that marketeers manipulate people. And it turns out knowing that doesn't help. So when I go to the website and I'm going to buy a new monitor, I think we need a new monitor. I was looking at it. They go like, only 3 left. I'm like, I have to get it. I know what they're doing. I wrote that thing. It's still like, I have to get it. So it doesn't matter that you know about it. And all the marketeers took the book as like a handbook of what to do. So, okay, one more thing. Let's wrap it.
What can you? Well, maybe you can.
Well, it's a different age population, but what does that mean for the frame?
Well, the model that's holding it.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. The model who is going to show, in the ad is going to show this.
So you're going to have somebody like you, right?
And maybe even a group, that's 3, 4
And
of
this
you.
one will be a group.
Yeah.
See, there you go. Okay.
A sophisticated group.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
So John and I had a little chat at one point about a video that you did. You remember that one? And, I looked at the video and we were talking about how to get it, the bed scene is an upscale thing and all that. And the people in the video looked like, they just didn't look wealthy. Their clothes were a little, right? And it was like, and wealthy today doesn't mean that you are wearing a tux, right? Wealthy today is just, you can tell though, right? Okay.
We think we can tell.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's intentional. So very rich people are working on looking more normal and poor. It's a thing. Because they heard about eating the rich and they don't really want to be on the menu. Okay, so thank you for being with us. This is a whole interesting field and we really appreciate seeing you here.
Thank you, Dr. Lahiri and Schaeffer. Fascinating stuff, and I've seen several marketing presentations over the years, and I can never get enough of this because we always forget. If we could fix our short-term and long-term memory, it would be so helpful. But this is so good. He'll be around. They'll be around after today for questions if you have individual questions. But before we adjourn today, are there any community announcements?